Good evening, South Africa, and welcome to Sunday Live with me, Tumelo Mototwane. Well, just last month, a very interesting report of a survey conducted by Student Village was released, raising many a brow. Now, it was a survey about university students, how they spend, and it was also split according to gender and race. But we are keen to know, is this really a true reflection of student life in present-day South Africa? And is it a cause for concern or not? Well, of course, you can SMS yes or no and your comment to the number 34065. You can always go to our Facebook page. We are Sunday Live on SABC 1. Tweet me at Sunday Live SABC 1 or T_Mototwane. But before we welcome our studio guests, Refilwe Muyula spoke to some tertiary students to hear what they had to say about their spending habits.
I feel like, as we don't save that much, our parents do. So if I call my mom, I'm here and I'm stranded, she will take out of her savings, she'll make a plan, she'll never leave you and say, so even me being in debt, even me, I can always refer back to my parents.
I don't want to lie, I'm advantageous because I'm the only son at home, so basically everything that they do. How about my son? My son is in Gauteng, I'm in Eastern Cape, So I just call home whenever I'm stranded. I know if I call mommy, not daddy, if I call mommy, everything is sorted.
My total expenditure can be 3 grand in total, with me using my bursary actually. So yeah, that's where my source is. My biggest spend, I'm a gadgety kind of person, as well as clothing wise.
I spend a lot on gym. I think in a month, I'd pay close to 900, 1,000.
I have to think for food, for transport, so that's why I work. Sometimes the reason I feel most students we do work is because we don't work to save. We work because we want something. If you want to, for example, with me, I know I like my weaves, I like my makeup, and I like going out. So because I work, that is where my income for the nice things in life come from.
For me, alcohol is out because I don't drink. But phones, laptops, clothes. I do buy clothes and then those brand names.
Black students spending a lot of alcohol because basically what we do is that every time you see music videos, you always see those guys with bottles, big bottles. So you want to also live that MTV lifestyle. You also want those big bottles.
I feel like it's the truth, but reason being me growing up from where I come from and friends from other provinces that we met in varsity, drinking is not a norm where we in our homes. Your parents, even if they drink, it's either it will be in the fridge, you don't touch it. The brandy, the wine, it's for Christmas occasions, you don't touch it. But now with white students, from what I know, for them, their parents do know. So coming back from home, they are accustomed to, if they want to drink, their parents will know maybe one drink, it's okay. So for us now coming to varsity, it's like, oh my goodness, this freedom and there's this alcohol and they're giving me money. So obviously you are going to do it because you want to experiment.
Students, we strategize. We can say in my bank I have 2 rand, but on me I can have even a grand that I can hustle up from people. That's what we do.
Yeah, I feel like most students, we work for something, not to save. It's rare where you find, I feel like when we start working, we'll think about saving. But right now, it's about having fun and being a student.
Well, a poll question for this evening is, are the spending habits of youth a cause for concern? Are you a parent? Are you a spender yourself? Well, join in the discussion and SMS us and join our social media, conversations this very moment. But right now, though, I'd like to welcome into studio Ronen is CEO of Student Village. Now, that's the organization that took on this mammoth task to probe and question what tertiary students really spend their parents' hard-earned money on. And we'd also like to have and welcome Kwanele Nomoyi, who is a TUT student. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Ronen, you conducted, the survey and the research. Is this really a true reflection of what's happening with students?
So this is the 5th year that we've done the same study to get a longitudinal view if this is what's happening and what's changing over time. And really what we're finding is our students, you remember when you were a student, when you got money from whoever's giving you the money, this is all disposable cash. This is money now that I can decide. I have the choice and I have the power to choose what I want to spend it on. And I don't always use the rational side of my brain when I decide what I'm going to spend it on.
Yeah, so let's get to the survey now. How much are young people spending, particularly those at university right now?
So we're looking on average, it's just over 2,700 Rand a month And that's so interesting. So most of these students, this is after textbooks, this is after the things I have to for my studies, this is now all the disposable side. And we get quite a few reactions saying, I don't get that every month.
Okay.
But what we find is that when they speak, when you sit with them and you actually add up what they're spending, they're just getting it from many sources. So maybe one source is giving them 2,000 Rand a month, and then they either on credit for the rest, or they're borrowing, or their brother's giving them, or they've got this whole value chain of love that they run to either to get more money or the bailout money.
I wonder then why we're complaining about unemployment, if it's that easy.
It's not that
It's
easy.
not that easy?
It's not as easy as it sounds.
Yeah.
I don't want to believe it's that easy as it sounds, but I do want to agree at how it can escalate to a point where it's 2,000 Rand a month and you didn't realize it, that it's 2,000 Rand a month, because it comes from different sources, and also because as a student, there are a lot of things that happen and they happen immediately. You know, there's a culture within our student life where, you know, someone will show up and say, there's an event happening tomorrow, let's go. And so the first thing you think about going to an event, I don't have clothes. So I need to go to Mr. Shop or wherever to get clothes. I don't have, you want
spending money when I get to the event.
I need to buy things when I get to the event, and that's what happens.
But shouldn't the first thing be, let me save some? Because if I'm unemployed and I'm still studying, and there are all these events happening, maybe let me save some for rainy days.
Yes, but some of us do. However, I want to say that, unfortunately, in a student space or in university, saving isn't, you know, spoken about, or we're not taught how to save, and that it's not in the culture. And I think that's something we don't acknowledge, the fact that even the cultures we come from home, we're not taught how to save. You know, saving is not ingrained in some families or cultures. It's not something we speak about at home. And so you come to university, you're given, you know, a huge amount of money that you weren't receiving when you were in high school, and you don't know what to do with it.
Interesting.
Then you find us being more financially responsible when we get to third year or towards the end of our university time. But when it comes to first, second year, you know, you're blowing cash.
Interesting. Well, I need to continue this conversation with my guests when we come back from the break, but I also need you to participate in our conversation for this evening. What are young people spending money on? Where does the money come from? Share your views. And when we come back, of course, we'll delve into our discussion. Welcome back to Sunday Live. Well, if you have just joined us, we are talking youth spendings. We are wondering where young people find all this money to spend on alcohol, spend on clothes. I mean, you find parents and elders being like, oh my gosh, you know, I don't even have that car, but an 18-year-old drives that car. So we're trying to understand some of the culture and the influences behind, you know, youth spending. And thank you so much to my guests for joining me once again. Now, Ronen, you conducted a very interesting survey, as I mentioned in my intro, that also did a split on race and gender. Why was it important for you to, you know, take that research that further, and what did you find when you got there?
So for us, it's always important to see, do students represent the rest of the country? So what we do is in our research pool, we actually try and mimic the same demographics of the country. So for us, it just gives us an accurate representation of what's happening in the student world, is that what's happening in the rest of the country. And I think it'd be no surprise for the viewers to, when I say is that South Africans are really driven largely by image, about I've arrived, and how I express that is I buy things. So is it about the jacket I'm wearing? That says a lot about me. Is it which club I go to, what car I drive, and when I go there, am I buying, I'm not just going to buy you a drink, I'm going to buy you a bottle.
Sure.
And it's really about impressing, and really about working on the perception, not the actual.
But isn't there pressure in that, though, Kwanele? I mean, if there's Instagram and we constantly have to post about what fancy breakfast we're having, the clothes we just bought, and there's also, you know, trying to impress friends, like you said, if there's an event happening. Isn't there pressure?
I want to say, in reply to that, there is an unfavored argument that I want to bring across, is that there's sometimes irresponsibility that comes from the parents, because sometimes our parents live their lives vicariously through us. You know, you hear parents say, I don't want my child to struggle the way I did. And then the unfortunate thing is that the rope they extend to their kids is sometimes too large. You know, I've had friends who get an allowance of 8 grand a month. That's someone's salary. That's more than someone's salary. And when you are a child, you're 22, you're not really responsible. You tend to not spend that money on the right thing. And then it leads to that. And then also now speaking about the pressure thing, it's hard because we don't even all know where the money comes from in some situations and circumstances, but then we level each other up. You know, me and so, we're on the same level, and so I need to wear certain sneakers, I need to wear or be at certain places. And the unfortunate thing is that it leads to us doing unsavory things. Yeah. It leads to crime being a popular thing at universities. You know, when you carry your laptop in your backpack, you're always looking after it in the library. You know, if you go into universities now, you'll find that libraries, media centers have cameras because students are taking each other's laptops. Largely not because, you know, you'll hear some with sad stories about we can't afford to study or whatever, but some it's because they want to sell it and buy alcohol, or they want to sell it or to buy, you know, to look cool.
So it's keeping up.
Keeping up.
But from one, you know, trend or culture, should I say, to another, from keeping up to month end. What's with the month end trend in South Africa? Mzansi, you know what I'm talking about. When we say month end, my friend, what does that mean in the spending culture?
So I think that most people, including students, are living month to month. What happens between paydays is what students decide are important. But come the end of the month, and that's when their parents or whoever's giving them the money usually get paid, then they get the best SMS of the month. Sure. When they get the ding that the money's landed, then the plans get into place on what we're going to do. And usually, like most people that aren't students, month end suddenly, for that one day, you feel flush. You feel like all my problems are solved, and let's go big.
By that one SMS.
It's a repetition of the way we've seen our parents live their lives. Because I've grown up in a place where it's been hard, and then month end, we know you're going to buy that takeaway on that one day.
Yeah, just that one day.
You know, that one day
yeah,
when
even
we
the
feel
kids
good.
know that, Mommy, come on, it's month end payday.
Exactly. So when
know.
you live your entire life like that, you replicate that when you leave. Because that's another thing we need not forget when it comes to looking at students or the student survey, is that students are now in spaces and places where they are alone for the first time, some of them, where they are away from their homes, kilometers, hours, you know, where they only speak to their parents via their phones. And your parents, when you were home, were your be-all and end-all. Now it's freedom. Now it's, you know, YOLO, as they would say in 2013. I'm not using the term right now, but that's what's happening right now. And so when we're not spending correctly, yes, it's very unfortunate.
But from one SMS that could make your day to one that could turn your day into a bad day is the fact that students also take a lot of credit and they're now indebted. I know that when I was in varsity, I was not working at the time, but I had a retail account at a retail store, and they were like, no, don't worry, you know, we actually want your kind.
You qualify.
How does that make sense then, Ronen?
So from a retailer's point of view, they know how important it is around students and their image. So a retailer, so if you get that card, they basically give you a gateway for the things that you really think are important. So I really want to shop at Woolworths, or I really want to buy clothes at another retailer. So those are things, and if I don't have the money in my account, I want to make a plan. One of the plans is I'm going to ask someone else for the money, or I'm going to go open a store account. Now, it's a really sobering experience for students that default on their credit. So probably about 25% of students at least have some form of credit. Of that, probably about 20% have no outstanding balance on their credit, but most of them do. And the biggest thing that they say to us is no one teaches us how to understand
even
credit.
The retail stores themselves, do they take it upon themselves to say, but before you sign you know, this is what you need to know. You need to be educated and informed when it comes to the decision that you're making.
No, and the unfortunate thing is that they also buy into us wanting the clothes. As Ronen said, they know what we want. And now they are providing an easy platform for us to get it. And emphasis on the word easy, because that's what students love to hear. But the unfortunate thing is that it ends up that 80% of us are defaulting on payments. And the most unfortunate thing is that you leave university and you have a bad credit record.
Imagine, you haven't even started working yet, but already there's...
You can't do so many things. And unfortunately, those are things that we don't know. We're not told about. You know, credit record, that is not a term we speak about, even when we're talking amongst students.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not something we know about. And then that's a very unfortunate thing. But on a business point of view, businesses are coming, they're giving us their cards, we're taking the accounts, we're getting clothes, and that's what we want. We want cool clothes to wear at the parties and events.
So I'll give you something interesting on that. Is if you ask a student if they've got 500 Rand credit from a major retailer or a bank, and they only have 500 to pay back, who they're going to pay back? They're generally going to pay the bank first because they think that the bank will come down on them harder if they default. But at the same time, they're really worried about if they lose the credit line through the retailer, because that would mean they don't get that stuff
anymore.
Yeah. And on the positive side is when we speak to students, they really, the big thing they ask is, can institutions be a lot more responsible in how they give credit, but also explain, tell me what it's about, tell me how much I'm paying, as well as the biggest thing that they want to learn about is how to save and the importance of how to budget. How do I manage my month?
Okay, then let's just hold it right there and take a short break. Well, when we come back, we're wrapping up our discussion, but I need to ask my guests, what happens now? What needs to be done so that young people are educated and they make informed financial decisions? You don't want to miss this one. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sunday Live right here on SABC 1. We're talking youth spendings, and we'd like to know from you how you feel or think about youth spendings. If you're a parent and you know that, Dumelo, not every month I just know that I have to give away 3,000 rands, but I don't know where it's going. Is it going to groceries? Is it going to hair? Is it going to clothes? Well, share with me. Our poll question for this evening is, are the spending habits of the youth of today a cause for concern? Well, SMS yes or no and your comment to the number 34065. You can go to our social media pages like Facebook and Twitter and not check out what other people are spending their money on, but get involved with the discussion. Well, before we say goodbye to you, gentlemen, I mean, you've raised a lot of concerns surrounding youth spendings and what goes on to young people making uninformed financial decisions. But moving forward, how do you think young people can sort of take themselves out of those situations or perhaps even prevent themselves from going in?
So I believe with everything you should take personal responsibility. So when it comes to credit, for instance, being ignorant is not an excuse. The law is the law. And I think students and young people should just spend time. It's very hard for them. They want everything like immediately.
Yeah.
Everything is about instant gratification. And if they could spend more time trying to understand where they're getting their money, if they could spend some and not save to spend later, but actually to save for actual rainy days. Yeah. If they could read and see what the laws are and how they could be responsible with their credit. We also produce a lot of content on our website, Student Village, to help students to understand, as well as there's an ombudsman, there's the National Credit Regulator that really produce content to help students to understand. And maybe they should watch different music channels.
I think so too. I was about to say, I mean, there's so much pressure, instant pressure on social media, but also we need to be interested as young people, to want to be better, right?
Yes. I was going to say, in your question, the operative word is take ourselves out, because I think as students, we don't like to be dictated to. We don't like to be spoken to. And I think as a problem, or to find or come to the solution, it's something we need to speak about more, because within youth conversations, within our spaces, we're not talking about financial responsibility. Instead, we're talking about spending more, and we're not talking about the truths behind where is this money coming from. Do I have enough money to buy bread tomorrow? you know, and instead you're spending it on unnecessary things. So I think maybe the solution would be for us as the youth to speak about it more, and maybe for companies like Student Village to encourage us to have those conversations as they do on their websites, you know, or other companies, you know. It's got to do with social responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, we need to also be led towards this conversation, you know, because there are big brands who have access to us, you know, via Twitter, Instagram or whatever. Start a conversation about financial responsibility for young people. Let us be the people who talk about it, and don't throw figures and facts at us. Ask us, are you guys spending money correctly? You know, what is your friend spending on?
Yeah.
What are you spending on? Because I don't think it's something we're talking about enough. And I think it's good. It's initiatives like this that are good, because now there's a survey. And now after the survey and the results come out, it's going to bring out a question. Now we're going to talk. Now we're going to ask questions amongst ourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the change is going to come from. Ourselves.
All right, thank you so much, Kwanele. Ronen, thank you so much for your time this evening. Well, because we were not live this evening and we couldn't even take your calls, well, we're just going to take a look at some of your comments on social media regarding youth spendings. Well, those were, of course, some of the comments that came out on Facebook. Thank you so much for being a part of the discussion. And thank you so much to my guest, the CEO of Student Village, Ronen, Kwanele Nomoyi, of course, who's a TUT student and a promoter under Student Village. Well, thanks to you as well at home for watching. I will see you again next Sunday. From myself, Tumelo Mototwane. Goodbye.
Just want to open a nay, you know, start tagging there.
Yo, Sval, Jesus lives, hallelujah, I have money.
I blow it up. This is my reaction.